and welcome back to CJ Discusses. Today we're going to be discussing the challenge, Season 40, Battle of the Eras, Episode 10, which is where we go to a strictly solo game. We start the episode with TJ reiterating that this is strictly a solo game, and there will be only one man and one female winner. So newsflash, this has been a solo game the whole time. So all of these alliances that you've been making, all these deals that you've been making, if you haven't been making it with other people and other alliances, you kind of been shorthanding yourself, because now all that's about to come to your benefit or to your detriment. It is also becoming readily apparent to Johnny, which I don't know why it wasn't before, that he is now the main target in the house. I mean, he's a 7-time champion. He should think that he is the guy that they want to get out first every time he walks into a challenge house. But it is readily apparent today that Tori and the remnants of the Vacation Alliance, as well as those that are on the outside of that Vacation Alliance circle, such as Jordan, Naya, and some of those other people, are all targeting to get him out of the game. So he is really on the outside looking in at this point, and he really doesn't have many friends. What he does have is Banana's Angels, and that is Rachel, Laurel, Aviv, and one other person who I will kind of Kara. She's on the periphery of it, but Jenny is the other person that's in that alliance, and they are all kind of outsiders at this point. Kara's still on the outside looking in, Johnny's Angels, but she is, she's allied with Aviv and Rachel, so she is protected there. She is kind of friendly with Jenny, obviously not friendly at all with Laurel, and somewhat friendly with Johnny, but they do have a past history, so we'll see how that plays out as we go forward. And then we get it's kind of like the, token screenshot now of Josh crying about how he wished he could have done more. But, I mean, Josh does this to himself every year. He never wants to be the bad guy, and I don't get it, because when he was on Big Brother, he was the biggest douchebag in that house. I don't even know how he won that game, because he was so annoying all the time, just being so over-the-top obnoxious. I don't know how he did not get voted out. I think they just thought that if they took him to the end, that they would be able to win against him. But now he just doesn't seem to want to make any waves, ruffle any feathers, and he just wants to be friends with everybody, which he is. Everybody loves Josh because he is absolutely not a threat. But he is also never in a position to help you. He very rarely wins a daily challenge. So, I mean, I don't know what benefit he has to your game at this point, but he is writing checks to so many different people that he cannot possibly cash them all in. And now it's all becoming a detriment to his game, because he's trying to protect everybody, and in the end, protecting no one. We then see Kara and Rachel having a conversation. Now, those two have been friendly over the course of the season, and Rachel kind of jokes that she feels like that she's the Kara of this season, as basically saying that she is the one that everybody is trying to get out, and they feel like she is the biggest threat. And Kara is like, have at it. If it's not going to be me, I'm glad it's you and not me. Kara basically gets to play her own game and gets to be able to kind of work behind the scenes, making sure that she's not getting tossed in while other people are taking the hits. We do see later on in the episode that Kara makes a casual mention that Tori is also has become kind of her in this as well, and that she is seen as a threat by a lot of people in the house from the physical side of things, and has kind of taken on that mantle, as well as gotten kind of, a rep as kind of being a bad guy in all of this, which Kara did get a little bit in World of Worlds 2, for sure, especially being aligned with Paulie. He was just a complete D-bag in that one. We then go to the daily challenge, and TJ springs yet another surprise on everybody and announces that all eliminations going forward are going to be single eliminations. So it's either going to be a men's day or a guy's day. A men's day or a girl's day, depending on how this coin flips. And he goes ahead and flips the coin in the air, and we see that it's going to be a guy's day. So that means that Johnny, Derek, and Ryan are really in trouble for today. Whoever loses the competition for today on the men's side is automatically getting thrown into the arena that night. And then one of those three, if they are not the loser, will go to the arena or go to the deliberation, plead their case, and thrown into the deliberation, into the arena with those guys. I can't talk today. TJ announces that today's competition is called Fire Away, and what it is on one side of this big dirt pit is a trebuchet, and on the other side is a bunch of stations that has their names on it. The trebuchet is going to go ahead and launch a bunch of basically tennis balls that have been spray painted into the air, and each contestant needs to go in and grab only 2 tennis balls at a time, take it back to their station, and go ahead and fill a tube. It's going to take 30 balls to fill a tube, so doing the math, it's going to take 15 trips at a minimum to go ahead and fill up that tube. Once the tube is full, then they can go ahead and start a puzzle. It's kind of like a tanagram puzzle, but it's a bit easier because it does have the number 40 on it. All of that comes into play in a minute. TJ is done explaining the rules. We get ready to go, and he blows the horn, and we're off. He launches the trebuchet, and the balls go flying. Everybody's running around, and we hear people saying it, making comments about how hot it is. It is Vietnam. I believe this was filmed in the spring, but I mean, I think it's pretty much hot there all year round, and it's especially hot and moist on this day. They don't tell us what the temperature is, but if you did see Survivor Go Wrong, picture kind of that. Just really hot and probably not the best, and there's no shade whatsoever, so probably not the best atmosphere to be running around in. Michelle makes some comments about how she would never be out in this, and makes a casual reference to, you know, the Ladies at Leisure Alliance, which is the first time that we hear about this alliance, which has her, Naya, and Olivia in it. And if you think about it, it makes sense because these girls are not doing a lot of extra physical work if they don't have to. Everybody's running around, and then due to the nature of the challenge, you know, with it being kind of a rat race as well as the aforementioned weather situation, people start making mistakes. We see Ryan putting balls in other people's tubes. Johnny's putting balls in Jordan's tubes. Everybody's making mistakes, which why I said earlier it's a minimum of 15. Well, you've made mistakes, so now you got to go back and recoup those balls and, you know, pray to God that somebody makes a mistake and drops some extra balls in your tube. Finally, we see that Jordan and Kylan are able to finish up their tubes and turn onto the puzzles. It's kind of, you would think that Kylan, being, you know, the puzzle master that everybody claims he is, would be the first one to get it done, but he struggles a little bit, and Jordan is actually the first one to get it done, so he will go to the arena as one of the decision makers for the evening. For the women, Tori is the first one to go ahead and get all of her balls into her tube and goes ahead and gets her puzzle done first, with Cara and Jenny basically just gassing out in this, which is kind of weird to see. You know, you see a lot of people, Theo's gassing out, that are supposed to be these premier athletes that are just dying in this heat. And this is really indicative, if they stay there, if there is not a location change, of what the final is going to be like, because it's only getting hotter there. You know, some seasons they do change locations, and it's pretty extreme change. Sometimes they just stay there, so it'd be real interesting to see. While this is not really a mini final, it does give you an indication on what those conditions are going to be for that endurance type activity. Like I said, you got Tori and Jordan now that are going to be the deciders on who's going to go into the arena that night. And really, at this point, we get to a race for last place. And ironically, it's between Derek and Ryan. And Ryan actually gets his puzzle done. But like I said, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's a tanagram, but it's got the number 40 on it facing you. So you can figure it out pretty easily that way. But Ryan does it as a true tanagram, and it's all black. And TJ tells him that, nope, that's not right. And he keeps moving pieces around and not realizing, and I don't know how he didn't realize this, that on the flip side, there's colored pieces that will make the number 40. So unfortunately, because of that mistake, he ends up coming in last. So we know that Ryan is automatically going into the arena for that night. And it'll be between Derek, who's his best friend, and Johnny, who they've had a little bit of a beef with. I mean, not too big of a thing, that will go against him. We see that again for the females. Michelle is not doing well at all, and it's between her and Naya as to who's going to go ahead and come in last place. And Michelle is the self-proclaimed puzzle master. She usually is pretty good at puzzles, but she just totally punts this and really just starts blaming it on the heat, because she does go down as a heat casualty. It looks like she ends up getting heat stroke and is a great candidate for the silver bullet. And if you know, you know. But she is hard down, getting a lot of water, and basically says that she sees 3 of TJ. So she is definitely a heat case at this point. I don't know that that's a likely excuse, but that's the excuse that she is using. Tori is absolutely ecstatic that she gets to be the one to decide on who's going into the arena. Because the other piece of this that TJ explains that if there is a split decision between the two decision makers, it is the opposite sex that gets to decide. So if Jordan and Tori can't figure it out, Tori gets to pick who's going in. So really, Jordan is kind of happy about it because he knows that she wants Bananas in the arena as payback for Devin, as well as getting a big threat out of the house. And he could basically keep the blood off of his hands because all he has to say is, I wanted Derek, she wanted Johnny. We couldn't come to a decision. She got to decide, and Johnny went in. So it's not my fault. So, he's pretty happy about that because it's also a big threat to his game that gets put out of the house if Johnny does lose. We get to the deliberation, and as Derek and Johnny are walking in, Johnny really just starts it all by kind of, tweaking Tori in the head, and Tori's like, really? But, Johnny wants to get thrown in at this point because he feels that if he can get thrown in and win, which he feels like he has a pretty good chance against Ryan, then he will have all the control in who gets to go into the arena the next time. And he thinks that he can then basically dismantle the Vacation Alliance. And number one on his hit list right now is Tori. So, Derek, he pleads the normal case. Ryan's my best friend. I don't want to go against Ryan. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not a big threat. I will do whatever I can to help you as we go further. But Johnny basically says that throw me in. I want to go in. Throw me in. Please do it. Basically daring both Jordan and Tori to go ahead and do it. We then go to a night out, and, Tori is talking to everybody. She's getting promises made to her. Derek says, she basically locks Derek down and says that if I save you, you must help me if you are in a position to help me. And of course he's going to say yes. I mean, who's not going to say yes? But with that, all of the rest of the guys are coming up to Tori and just begging her to go ahead and put Johnny in because really, he is a big threat. And if you can take the shot because if he gets to a final, he has a pretty good chance of winning. We see Jordan and Tori going into Johnny's room to give him the news that he's going in. And Johnny's like, you're not even playing your game. You're playing Devin's game. And he basically calls her out on it. He said, you're doing whatever he's saying, pretending like he's not, like he never even left. And you are just doing what he would want you to do. At least have the gumption to go ahead and play your own game. Of course, Tori takes umbrage with that and throws it back at Johnny's face and says that this is her game. She needs to get the threats out of the game. And that Devin is her best friend and her ride or die. And yes, you did this to Devin, and now I'm going to do this to you. So there is a little bit of an admission that she is kind of, playing for Devin. I don't know that she is playing Devin's game. But we now know that Johnny is going to go in against Ryan in the elimination. We get to the elimination arena, and we see a bunch of hay bales kind of in like an oval, looking a bit like a racetrack. And TJ goes ahead and tells us that we are going to be playing a game tonight, and it's called Killer Quads. So the Ryan and Johnny are going to be on quads, and they are basically going to start on opposite sides of the oval, kind of like Mario Kart, and they're going to have to chase each other around this oval. And they got these long flags streaming off the back of their carts. And the object is to try to catch the other person and rip the flag off their cart. First to two wins. We see that Ryan doesn't really drive all that often. He lives in New York City, so he doesn't really have to. He's certainly never been on a quad. Whereas Johnny, he lives out in California in the suburbs. He drives all the time, and he's also got a lot of experience on quads. So the assumption is that this is going to be a bloodbath, and Johnny's going to just kill it. TJ blows the horn. We see that this is in fact just like Mario Kart, and they are just going around this oval circle. Johnny has a bit of a game plan on how he's going to go ahead and take the turns so that he doesn't get bogged down in the soft sand. Basically, he's going to take the turns wide because he knows that the sand's going to build up on the inside of the turn, and it's going to get real soft. So it's going to be real easy for the wheels to go ahead and get stuck there. It also allows him to kind of cut the turn and get more speed on the straightaway. So it's pretty good plan going in. Ryan has no plan, can barely get the thing going, and he gets a couple of laps in and then runs his quad into a hay bale, which then allows Johnny to go ahead and catch him and get a pretty easy first flag. So Johnny's up 1-0. We go to round 2, and we see that Ryan kind of has it figured out, and he's actually making up ground on Johnny, and he ends up, almost catching him. He's probably about a quarter of the track away from catching him when he goes ahead and catches another hay bale on the outbound stretch of a turn. So that allows Johnny to go ahead and get some distance on him, reset, and then really start gaining some ground on him. And then we see that because Ryan doesn't know about the sand on the inside of the turns, that he's taking the turns real close to the hay bales, just trying to get around them as quickly as possible. But to his detriment, he ends up getting stuck in that sand, which then allows Johnny to go ahead and catch him and get that second flag and go ahead and win the elimination. So tonight, Ryan's going to go home, which is kind of sad because he, between All Stars 4 and this, he's actually doing pretty well. He's got a really good social game. He's looking really good, but he just can't seem to get anything going. So maybe we'll see him again on the flagship. I think we'll definitely see him again on All Stars. But the winner for tonight is Johnny. And he is super excited because now he gets to throw Tori into as a target for the next elimination. Until TJ tells us that he can pick any 3 females he wants except for Tori because she won the last challenge. Which is, I don't know how he didn't see this coming. Because that is usually the norm. That next person gets a bye on the winner gets a bye on the next challenge. So he's pretty upset about that. But he ends up going after the Ladies of Leisure Alliance, who are on the periphery of the Vacation Alliance, but also kind of closely aligned with Tori. So he throws in Naya. Okay, big deal. He throws in Olivia, who he calls Devin's pet snake. And I'm not quite sure. That's clearly a Harry Potter reference, but I'm not quite sure why he chose that term to use for Olivia. And then also he refers to Michelle as Devin's ex-girlfriend, Michelle. So, he's clearly taking shots at Devin, who's not even in the game anymore. And then, by extension, Tori and the Vacation Alliance. So it'll be really interesting to see how the house reacts to all of this. And Johnny's just basically blowing up his social game at this point. He's honestly got nothing to lose. He knows that he's going to be a target every time he can be. So he just needs to win all the daily challenges or be prepared to go into the arena at this point. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe and like. And I'll see you on my next video, which will be talking about Survivor.